It's legendary, it's often imitated, it's for lunatics. Today we're drinking Old Peculier. Hi guys, it's Jim here from Dr. Tankenstein with another episode of Beers of the British Isles. On today's episode, we're drinking Old Peculier, the legend, apparently. Old Peculier. Now this cost £1.80 from the co-op, so it's probably available everywhere. It's a 5.6%, 28 IBU, ale. I don't know, even after all my research, what kind of ale it is. I just know that it's Old Peculier. And I don't even know how to pronounce that. I'm saying Old Peculier, but it looks to me like it could be Old Peculier. I don't know. Brewed by Theakstons. The name apparently comes from the 12th century when up in North Yorkshire, the posh bit of Yorkshire, the peculiar court were granted the powers by the church to make their own laws. And that is where the name for this beer, brewed in the 1900s, comes from. Yeah. Now, there's not a huge amount of, this is kind of an industrial beer, so there's not a huge amount of information on it. What we do know is it's 5.6% alcohol. It has roast malt in the malt bill, so it's definitely going to be dark. Dark, traditional English styles, dark at that alcohol percentage, generally get quite interesting. There's usually a lot of cool yeast stuff going on in those beers. Doesn't mean that's going to be the case here, but that's what I'm picturing. We don't have a lot of hop information, except that there are 2 bittering hops and Fuggles. They proudly use Fuggles in their beers. There are a lot of traditional Yorkshire breweries that use Fuggles very proudly, and I love it. I really love Fuggles. It gets a real bad rap in the States, I think, does Fuggles. But in my head, it's kind of our version of Cascade. So it's kind of fruity, kind of floral, but just a little bit understated. And that's what I think of Fuggles. I really do like Fuggles. But I'm imagining this is going to be a very interesting ale, purely for the fact that I don't know what style it is. I don't think anybody knows generally pin it down what style this is, because I couldn't find anything. So it's going to be dark, it's going to be strong, it's not going to be very bitter. Let's find out what it is going to be. Okay, we're all poured in. This was in the fridge, but I took it out about an hour ago. So it's cool, not cold. And I think that will suit this mystery style well. So like I said, it's got a lot of roast malt in it, so it's gonna be dark. And that it is. It's kind of dark in the same way Guinness is. So if you were to shine a light through it, which I don't have access to right now, unfortunately, it's kind of a reddish dark color. It's not black, it's just very dark. So aroma. There's really not a lot to the aroma, which is a surprise because it's not that cold. Like the glass isn't even frosting over or anything. So that's a real surprise to me. If I were to pick out anything, it's almost that sort of spiciness that, well, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I know I'm looking for English hops. I don't know. Aroma little to none. Okay, that's interesting. I might need another one of those just to make my mind up. Oh yeah. So that's interesting. It's honestly, it's not what I thought it was going to be at all. I've never had this beer before. Despite how popular and legendary the brewery seems to think this beer is, I've never had it before. So that's something. Well carbonated, it's out of a bottle. I think that's okay. Bitterness is on the low end, which is, it kind of matches what I said earlier. The flavour here is kind of cool. I'm okay with it now because I need to keep, I can afford to keep drinking it just to keep looking, but the overriding flavour that I'm getting is almost like dandelion, like a dandelion and that kind of like herbaceous kind of phenolic sort of, maybe that like phenolic yeast character. That's what I'm getting from it. The malt, if I'm honest, is lacking. I need to remember this is a 5.86% beer. It's a very interesting beer. Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but very little aroma, very little hop flavor. The main body of the beer is kind of like it's very herbaceous. It's very kind of phenolic with, yes, there's maltiness there, but there isn't an awful lot of sweetness there, despite there being a very low bitterness. This beer is not sweet, and that's thrown me a little bit. Okay, so Theakston Brewery are from the good bit of Yorkshire, North Yorkshire. Well, I say the good bit. The posh bit of Yorkshire, North Yorkshire. Founded in Massam in the 1800s. And it's still family owned, which is pretty cool. It's pretty impressive to kind of have come all this way. Still, at least, the family still at least have an interest in it. I couldn't quite figure out whether, it's, John Theakston still owns it or whatever, but yeah, still the family still definitely have a controlling interest in the brewery, which is awesome. So Theakston's is largely traditional ales, traditional English ales. They do brew a certain number of craft items, but they just don't need to. So Old Peculier is kind of an oldish, or Peculier, I'm not sure. It's kind of an oldish beer. They have just a lot of classics. I won't name them here, of course. This is Old Peculier's episode. But yeah, they really don't need to brew craft, but they still do, which I think is cool. They're still trying to just be like, listen, this is what we've got, though we're comfortable with where we are. This isn't a tap room kind of brewery. I mean, if you go around Yorkshire, you'll see certain oldish pubs have got a Theakston's cask on the line, but this isn't a tap room brewery. This is more like a museum brewery. This is more like this is a piece of history brewery where, if I'm honest, probably a lot of current craft American breweries probably take a lot of their inspiration from Theakston's. Okay then, let's take a look at Old Peculier. Peculier. It certainly is peculiar. So, yeah, colour, a deep ruby red. I haven't commented on the head retention on this. Not that impressed, if I'm honest. I know I normally blame it on my glasses, but this one it poured, it bloomed, it fell, just like that. There wasn't even There wasn't even a clinging to the head retention on this one. It just died. So I'm going to blame that one on the beer. Deep, deep, deep ruby red. Aroma, like I say, very little aroma. It's not a cold beer at this point, so it's kind of lacking. If I were to look for an aroma, I would probably say it's spicy, but maybe that's just because I know what it tastes like. Diving in, so the brewery said, and this is one of my kind of 3 points at the beginning there, this beer is often imitated. I don't think I've ever had a beer like this. So if you're imitating this beer, you're doing it badly. Yeah, it's kind of phenolic and herbaceous, almost... the words I was going to use then seem wrong, but it's almost... seems synthetic, even though it probably isn't. It seems a little bit synthetic. It kind of just sits at the back of your mouth, just right on the roof of your mouth, right at the back. That kind of, yeah, just medicinal. Can I say medicinal? It's kind of a medicinal tasting beer. But there is a maltiness to it. There is a certain maltiness to it. Maltiness, not sweetness. So it's not a sweet beer. It's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. If this beer were a song, I would say it's Black Knight by Deep Purple. I don't quite know what that song is either, but it's cool, it's funky, I like to dance to it, and give me a few of these black beers and I'll be dancing too. So I actually do suggest you all get down to the co-op, try this beer and let me know whether I'm right on this one or not, because I don't know what to think of this beer, if I'm honest. It certainly is peculiar. Head down to the co-op, grab yourself one of these. If you like it, I don't know, maybe you could go to your local bottle shop and find out one of those apparently hundreds of breweries that have tried to imitate this beer. In the meantime, guys, cheers.